Friends in the Corner, a new podcast experience in the bluegrass state of Kentucky. Welcome back, everybody. Episode 15 coming at you here today. And guys, happy Thanksgiving. The holidays are finally here. We're going to get ready to celebrate Thanksgiving here tomorrow. I'm getting ready to go back up to Ohio and see my family. It's just goodness in the air these days. So if you want a little holiday cheer in your life, you know what you can do? You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at FITC Podcast. That's FITC Podcast. You can always email the show if you have any ideas or suggestions to friendsinthecorner@gmail.com. That's friendsinthecorner, all together lowercase, at gmail.com. But guys, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And we've got a special episode here for you guys today. So if you've been listening to my show for a while, you've heard me talk about a special show that's near and dear to my heart, BBN Chalk Talk, a sports show with a distinct Kentucky flavor. Yes, for those of you who want to know a little bit about my history and podcasting, before Friends in the Corner was the thing, I was actually a part of BBN Chalk Talk with Max Scodby, Matt Smith, and Greg Weil. Max has been on my show before. We talked a little bit about it on his episode, which you can listen to in our archives at SoundCloud, iTunes, on all that stuff. And since I left the show about 2 years ago, Max, Matt, and Greg continued it on. They actually now have gotten a bigger audience here in the Lexington area. They even get their own radio spot now on WVLK here in town. So they're doing some big things out there. They're going to all these UK sporting events and talking about the different sports that are happening, not just football, not just basketball, but they're talking about rifle. They're talking about soccer. They're talking about volleyball. So they are becoming a very prestigious Kentucky sports outlet here in town. You should check out BBN Chalk Talk at www.bbnchalktalk.com. And it was a goal of mine to get these guys on my podcast at some point, and I thought, hey, what better episode than the week before we play Louisville. Kentucky plays Louisville this weekend, and of course Thanksgiving, because these guys love to talk about food. So to highlight this amazing Kentucky football season, this upcoming matchup against U of L, and Thanksgiving feast, we're going to go to BBN Chalk Talk. Here we go. Well, the band is back together. How are we doing, everybody?
Dan, the man.
Hi, Dan.
Yes.
What's up?
What's up,
bourbon?
I
Get to the important questions first.
Yeah.
If you already filled that bottle, you still got it.
It's actually right here.
Okay, that's cool.
Yes.
So it's not, physically here, but virtually we can look at it.
Yes.
That's what we wanted.
Well, okay, so I guess we need to just start diving right into it here. So when I left the show, being in Chalk Talk, when I left the show the first time,
yes.
I
That's the key.
was quote unquote gifted a bottle of bourbon from the boys, signed and autographed by them, and I came back for the show for a couple weeks and then left again. And I thought because it was a gift, I didn't need to return it. Like the people that come to your wedding, do they ask for your gifts back from the wedding?
Did you get a divorce 2 weeks later?
Yeah.
Well, here's what really happened in that bottle. I don't know if I ever told you guys. You guys gave me that bottle the week before the Ohio State Clemson game when that was in the playoffs a few years where we got destroyed.
Yep.
So that bottle did not last that night. That bottle got me through some very emotional pain from that week. So I'm sorry that the bottle is gone here, but I still appreciate you guys' assistance with that weekend.
Anything for you, Dan.
I appreciate it. You guys are the best. So
all about helping out the fellow man.
Yep.
So guys, I'm excited to have you on. It's been an episode I've been looking forward to having for a while now since I got my podcast started. Obviously, my roots start with you guys, and since we've kind of parted ways, you guys have gone on to do some bigger and better stuff. You guys got a new sponsor, G&J Pepsi Bottlers.
Yes, everybody is keen on saying G&J Pepsi Cola bottle.
I wonder who got you that contact, Max. So
I don't know. I don't know.
And then you're also on WVLK on Sunday mornings now. And then who was it you were just filling in for this week?
We're filling in for Larry Glover on Wednesday, a 3-hour politics show that we now have to talk food and sports on.
Yeah.
And yell at people when they come in and say, well, I want to talk about Trump. No, food, sports, only.
Trump, I'm
Hot
sorry.
takes on food.
That's a new Thanksgiving dessert that you have.
It's a 3-hour politics show that they need to fill, and who's the natural host you come to? Us, of course.
The three fatties.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about us, Dan, is we have kind of just stumbled our way, hitting every coffee table possible in the living room, getting to this point of how, just looking at our history, how did we make it this far to now? We have credentials to every sporting event.
Yeah.
We're on WVOK, like a respected news talk radio station, and now covering for one of the most well-respected political voices, radio personalities in the state. It's like one of these days, as Law always says, someone's going to tap us on the shoulder and go, okay, jig is up.
Well, yeah, we've come a long way from your living room of your apartment, Max. I remember we recorded one of the very first episodes of BBN Chalk Talk, and a bee came out of the vent and died in the living room while we were recording. So you guys
remember all the different microphones we went through? We tried the headset. Then we had the big one sitting in the mason jar in the middle of the table.
Yep. And the camera we tried to set up over on pillows on the couch on top of boxes, and we all had to squeeze in together, and then the camera would fall over halfway through.
Jerseys in Max's living room that he never hung up.
My computer died during one recording. I had to restart it, and I said, "Okay, Max, start over at the last rant you did."
Yeah.
Or the time we made Dan eat a hot chip.
Oh yeah, that hurt.
Yep.
Ow.
I forgot about that one.
That was good.
That was
and
good
then
one.
I love how when we first went to iTunes, we told everyone to rate the show and leave a comment of how great the show is. And our first ever star review was a 1-star that says the audio sucks.
Yeah.
It was like, that is not a 5-star review like we asked.
Yeah.
You did
So then we took away rating.
Yeah, then we just stopped doing it. We didn't ask for that.
Well, I'm excited to have you guys on. We've already dedicated a whole episode to Max. My very first episode was about Max. So, yeah, cheers for you. But Matt and Greg, if you guys don't mind, I want to give this time just to tell my audience a little bit about who you guys are, and then we can start talking about all the fun stuff we got coming up here today. So, Matt, you want to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. So I played center for Kentucky from 2008 to 2012. Max was practiced a lot for me. I played in the games that Max practiced for me. So
you're welcome, buddy.
Max was your stunt double. I never thought of it that way.
Oh, that's great. Can I get a shirt? Can I please get a shirt?
Double.
We had Jackie Chan, and then we had the body double.
I get you a shirt with Smitty's number on it.
That's right.
Not Max Smith on the back.
Oh, yeah. So that happened, and then I went and played some football down in Atlanta for the Falcons. Came back to Kentucky afterwards, and been doing this podcast now for 3 years with them. So it's been a wild ride, and we're back together again, Max. And this time I'm backing him up for most of the part. But
well, this is payback. That's your karma.
This is payback.
That's your payback.
Yes.
When I came on, he said, "Hey, Matt, I want you to be on the show, but you work for me," is what he said. All right.
None of this stuff like before. Yeah. I go out and do all the legwork, and then you get all the glory in the end.
That's right. Yeah. So that's a little bit about me. From Louisville, live in Lexington now. It's been great.
And so I never asked you, when you got signed by the Falcons, did Max try to get a negotiated
contract? I wrote him in there as my practice player.
like, do I have to go down with you to practice? I still have some eligibility here left. What do I do?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yes.
What about you, Greg?
What about me?
Who are you?
Who are you?
What about me? Let's see. I attempted after high school to walk on at a couple of colleges. That didn't work out so well. So then I went on just to said, who really needs to play college football? Is that have to be a stepping stone? No. So I just went on and decided to spend a few years playing semi-pro football and a couple years playing arena ball. And went on and later on in life got into coaching and was blessed to, in 2007, become a coach at Christian Academy in Louisville. And I had this little snot-nosed freshman to be sophomore center that just from day one, hey, Mr. Coach Lyle, can I ask you a question? Started then and went all the way into one late August afternoon when, hey, Coach, let me ask you a question. Want to do a podcast?
And this happened to be our favorite kicker of all time, Max Guzman.
No,
punter, Dan. Punter.
Oh, my bad.
The shield. No, but so I've been around sports all my life and just having an absolute blast with this. So blessed that once again that Max asked me to do this, and so glad that next morning after he asked me that Friday afternoon that he called me that next morning at 8 o'clock saying, hey, I'm going to do Cameron Mills' show today. And I was like, okay, cool, have fun. And he's like, no, I'm on my way to your house to pick you up. You're going to go do it with me. And I'm like, wait a minute. You had to explain what a podcast was last night to me. Now you're walking me onto this radio show. But no, it was a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun, a fun ride. And like you said, every day I'm just expecting there to be a knock on the door and like, what are y'all doing? We thought y'all would give up by now. We thought y'all quit by now. But no, it's been an absolute blast. We've gotten to meet some really, really cool people like yourself and getting to cover some of these games and stuff. I never thought I'd be spending my Sunday afternoons at a volleyball game and a girls basketball game and a men's basketball game and all this other stuff. It's pretty cool. It's fun to do.
That's awesome. And Max, everyone knows who you are. If you haven't, you should go check out the very first episode I did with Max Gabi where I was acting like a stuttering idiot through the entire thing. We've come a long way since that first episode, Max.
We really have, Dan. And honestly, you beat up yourself too much. As a guy that continually screws up as a host of not only a podcast but a radio show, trust me, it shows that you could stutter as much as you possibly can and you could still make it in life. It's just a lot of people will make fun of you in the process of it.
Dan, I'm going to need a clip of what he just said the last 15 seconds. Can we get that cut out and sent to us so we can use that later and show the shows? Perfect.
Absolutely. I'll send that over to Greg after this recording.
Perfect.
But guys, let's talk business here because after all, that's what we're here for. This Kentucky football season. I mean, I don't even know where we kind of begin with this, but I know maybe there's a lot to talk about here, but how has this season beaten out your expectations, what you're going into? Max kind of gave me, when we recorded with Max back in August, he kind of gave me his thoughts and process. And I'm assuming, Max, that this has outdone what you thought it was going to be. So let me ask you guys, when you guys think about the season, what has been shocking to you? Where do you think, where were your expectations and where have they been surpassed by this point?
I think obviously it was going to be better than a 7-6 season. I think all of us said 8-4 going to a bowl game. I think we all said that. And what threw a lot of us off was I think the coaches had that snicker about them knowing what was coming. They knew the talent that they had and going into the season to where when it comes to SEC talent, they're better than every team on their schedule with the exception of Georgia. And they knew that going in. And what's been amazing there has been a 100% culture change at UK from a player perspective and a fan standpoint. Because I remember back in the day when Matt and I were playing, it was like, if we can just get to a bowl game, if we can get to a bowl game, we'll be happy. To now, you've got an 8-3 ball club about ready to play your rival down I-64. And you have people complaining about the Citrus Bowl, saying, no, we're a better team than this. And you're having fans that are now identifying rising to the expectations of this team. Good, bad, or indifferent, no matter what it is, you've now got to a point where the elevation of it has risen up to where there's been an absolute culture change. And I think there's no turning back now.
Yeah, I think that, and I agree with everything you said, Max. And the cool thing about it is like I love that the fans have this high expectation that this Kentucky team needs to keep climbing to. But I also think we just need to take time to enjoy this season for what it was. I think that that's being overlooked because of the loss to Tennessee. I think coming into the season, we expected A&M and Georgia to be losses. But the great thing is, minus the Tennessee game, we've overcome a lot and beaten teams that we haven't historically beaten so many times. South Carolina is now at what? Yeah, Florida is finally. South Carolina is now at what, 5 or is it 6 in a row? It's 5 in a row now. So,
Oh no,
the fact that is it 6?
I thought it was 5.
2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 5. It's 5.
Okay. So look at that math.
Math.
So the fact that we've done that, and those are like the expectations now, we talked about this on our show, is that what this team has done, and especially this group of seniors, has now made Kentucky a contender for getting towards that top tier of SEC talent. We are now have risen to the top of that mid-tier of your Floridas, South Carolinas, Tennessees. We're now sitting at the top of that. And our next step is to take it even further. And I think they've laid this groundwork for as much of a foundation as Max and I like to think we had. This team, especially this group of seniors, has done some unbelievable things that we haven't seen in our lifetime. So it's been awesome to watch.
No, I think the thing that's standing out to me so far this year too has been our defense. I mean, we heard about all these guys coming back, and we were an okay SEC defense, and we know we had some good players in Mike Edwards and Josh Allen, but you know, most of the hype coming out of last year was a C.J. Conrad, a Benny Snell, this hot recruit that we were going to get in, who was going to be a quarterback, you know.
Hey, Max, try not to make too much noise, okay?
Sorry.
No chance.
Sorry, Greg, go on.
Welcome to our world, Dan. Yeah, exactly. Wow. God.
So I think the defense has been surprising me. We knew we had a good ball club. And then the other thing that's been surprising me is how I'm trying to think if this is even a word or if I'm going to make up a word, unready this fan base is to have a contending team, because as soon as they stub their toe somewhere, it's like, well, there we go. We're back to the old Kentucky from back in the 40s. We suck. We hadn't won a game since Bear Bryant. I mean, it's this fan base isn't ready for a team to be a contender, because very rarely do teams, unless you're in Alabama, and they don't even go undefeated some years in a row. There's always some hiccup along the line that comes up, and unfortunately this year was Tennessee for us. Nobody saw that coming. Mm-hmm. But I'm happy with where we're at. I'm ecstatic where we're at going into a rivalry game that we've got this weekend, and just the expectation for this weekend is high for me.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Kentucky. And Greg, I know you played at Texas, right? And
yes, I walked on in a couple colleges. Let's not name them.
Oh, okay, sorry. But you were part of fan bases kind of like those. I mean, I grew up an Ohio State fan and stuff like that. And I know, like, in Kentucky, it's just one of those things where when it comes to football, it's like, all right, we're going to cheer and get excited. But then as soon as something happens, we're going to switch over to basketball. And it's just one of those schools. And obviously, Matt and Max, you guys actually kind of lived through those situations kind of like these. So could you tell me a little bit, because I know the UT loss was probably where some fans probably started switching over, and maybe for better or worse, Kentucky after the Duke game wasn't the best switch over. But still, what happens to the mindset of a player when they go through a loss, and they're not only do they have the loss to deal with, but they've got fan criticism to deal with? What kind of goes through your mindset?
We saw it with Cash Daniel last week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what he said. He didn't use Texas as an example, but he used Nebraska as an example. Here's a team that went 0-5 and still was putting 80,000 butts in the seat.
Right.
An 0-5 club.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I know several years that Texas has had down years, and true, a down year at Texas is different than a down year at Kentucky. But that stadium holds 101,000. There was still 95,000 plus in that stadium. So it's
about building up the program then?
It's about a fan base having an expectation and an understanding that you are a fan regardless of what that record is. And this is the thing that I had, and this is why I agreed with Cash Daniels when we talked about this on our show. Senior Day is not about sending these seniors off for a good senior year. Now, they've had a great senior year. But I think some of the fans took it against them because of the loss at Tennessee and the loss at Georgia, because there was high expectations going into that game. But senior day should have been to honor those seniors for the body of work that they've put in over the last 4 to 5 years. And the fans just don't get that here. And it's easy to check out. Now, I'll tell you what, I was even shocked last night at the basketball game. In true, it's VMI. It wasn't a Southeast Conference game. It wasn't a big-time team that we were playing. The student section was a quarter full.
Mm-hmm.
And that eruption zone is supposed to be the 12th man. And even the upper part of Rupp Arena wasn't that full. So, I mean, this fan base, and I love it to death. I mean, we're part of the fan base as well. You got to stick with your program through thick and thin. It's like family. There's got to be that unconditional kind of love that you have with that university and its programs. And we just don't get it here.
And for me, I won't speak for anyone else, but I remember going through a loss as a player and literally be sick to my stomach to the point of throwing up, thinking about, I've got to watch this again on film. And my whole Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday is going to be dictated based off this loss. And now when I go in now today as a fan and as an observer and as a follower, I go in, I go, well, nothing changes for me on Monday. It just makes the radio show a little less fun after a loss. But I think that's the perspective that we have, is when fans just go like, whether it's they don't care or it's like the loss doesn't affect them. I think it's a lot easier for fans that used to play or know the value of what a bad loss feels like, and going through games like that. And Matt and I mean, no offense to us, but we've gone through some heartbreakers and some stuff that just wasn't freaking fair. I mean, Matt Smith's senior year, we had the number 2 toughest schedule in the conference, number 2 toughest schedule in the country, where we played number 1, number 5, number 4, number 6, and then number 1 again to finish up. That was the year that the SEC East was absolutely loaded. And it just gives you perspective. Once you leave, you're able to see it's a lot easier to back a team after a loss. You're able to continue going through because you felt that. You felt having that loss. You felt dealing with the anxiety and being high-strung on that Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday going into practice, watching that film again. And I think that's why you're able to see a lot of former players coming in to rally around this team on times that was not doing well. Everyone remembers 2016, where they were about ready to have Stoops' head on a post and send him packing. And aren't we glad we didn't do that now? Yeah. Now the questions become, how do we keep him? It went towards fire Stoops, and then how in the world do we keep him?
They were ready to replace him with Rex Ryan. I remember those conversations. How true those were, who knows? But yeah.
Les Miles. Did you see Les Miles in his interview at Kansas?
Cool.
I didn't follow it too much, but
see, he in the middle of his press conference for 40 seconds, he's talking. We're going to get involved in the community, and
he's so excited to be at Kansas.
40 seconds. 40 seconds to the point where someone subtweeted it and said, that moment when you realize you're now the head coach at Kansas.
It's amazing. I know we're going to talk about Louisville. I kind of thought that would be a better fit for him of going to Louisville, but that's a whole nother conversation. But anywho,
I'm worried here in town whenever Jeff Brom doesn't take the job, because everybody's like, oh, he's just saying that. He's just buying his time at Purdue. He didn't want to upset the students till after the bowl game, and December 6th he'll be here. He'll come home and all this fanfare, and I'm like, really?
Yeah, they did beat my boys, so I can't say too much right now. So, but
well, Dan, don't make us talk about that.
And I'm sure that's not missed too much on the show, right? My Ohio State comments. So
we missed 0 of it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Luckiest team in the country.
Right.
Dang straight.
But so I know we've kind of talked about some of the negativity that's been recent about the team, but overall, like we've been talking about, this has been a very historic season for Kentucky. I mean, Jared Allen has broken the sack record. We broke our streak against Florida. We're 8-3 right now. Is that right? 8-3.
Mm-hmm.
Going to go 9-3 hopefully by the end of the week. We've been ranked in the top 10. So despite all this, how do you guys think this season is going to be remembered in Kentucky history overall?
I don't know now. Like, I don't know, just with the fan base. Again, that Tennessee loss is just so close that you're going to have to give fans time away. And I think a lot of the season's going to be cured. Kind of the bad mojo going on right now is going to be solved when you beat Louisville. And I'm saying when we beat Louisville, because it's rivalry week. I always believe that you're going to beat Louisville during Louisville Hate Week. They will beat Louisville. And then if they're able to go out to a good bowl and win. If you do those two things, this will be such a historic season. 20 years from now, they're going to be bringing them back, and they're going to get a pullover like Matt Smith did, and have the Kentucky Legends logo on it, and it will be remembered. And there will be another statue. I'm still waiting on the statue for Stephen Johnson, but it's basically this season has two ways of being remembered. It's either going to be the stepping stone from 7 wins to 8 wins, which by pattern, that's the next step, is the eight wins, the way Stoops has been trending, or it's going to be known as the breakout year, to where it solidified UK of being solidified in the top tier of the SEC.
I think just to be in that club, though, we've got to do this more than 1 year. You know,
for me, it's the stepping stone. It's one that's going to solidify it. Like Matt was talking about how there was a foundation to grow to this point. That's going to be the foundation, the next foundation, the second, third floor, whatever you want to call it. I'm not an architect. As Dan pulls out another bourbon, it's like, oh gosh, here we
love it. I think the way that this team gets remembered is if they can win the next 2 games and get to that 10 win. Because I mean, the thing is, if we beat Louisville, we go to a bowl game, we're going to be playing somebody probably in the Citrus Bowl, somebody that's going to be fairly decent, whether it's a Michigan State, a Penn State, a Wisconsin, Northwestern. We're going to be playing one of these teams that's pretty respectable. And if we beat them, capping off a 10-win season with a win like that in a bowl is going to do wonders to make up for that Tennessee loss. I know it knocked us out of probably one of the New Year's 6 bowls that we wanted to be in. But there's still a chance to get 10 wins, and that's going to be hard. That's hard to come by in Kentucky history.
Yeah, the last 2 projections I looked at today while I was doing the Stoops press conference is the most common one I'm hearing right now is the Citrus Bowl against Northwestern.
Rematch.
And then I'm also hearing against Penn State in the Outback Bowl.
Yeah.
Those are the 2. Both New Year's Day bowls. So that's
great.
Looking up.
Yeah. But that kind of brings up a good question here. So I asked this question to Max when he was on my podcast last time, and Coach and Matt, I'd love to bring this up to you too. And Max, if you want to recant your statements also, but do you think there's pressure now on this team to win their bowl game?
I think so, because we haven't had success winning bowl games recently. We've gotten there, but we haven't had success winning. So, yeah, I think there is pressure, especially after taking a loss against Tennessee and what that's done to the fan base. I think they have to go out and win to like I just said, to cap this off as a historic season. I think it's going to lose a lot of luster if they're not able to pull it out in the bowl game.
I think any bowl game you have to go out and win.
Yeah.
I mean, if you get to that point, but I think there's added pressure because it is Kentucky and what this fan base will do if they lose. I mean, it's just – I'm just glad that we can report on the show and be done with football for the year.
Move on to basketball. Are you excited about that?
Right.
Basketball and other sports. Didn't listen to them complain about that. And yes, Smitty, if you haven't realized that, that's why I gave you men's basketball, and I'll help you with men's basketball, but I'll take the women's sport because they love them. They could win or lose. They're going to love them. My sports are going to be all rosy and happy and cheerful.
Man, it's been a rough November for my sports right now.
That's why I love Rifle, because Rifle just doesn't lose. And you can't talk bad about them because then they just point right at you and say, "What did you say? I didn't hear you." It's like, never mind. You're shooting great.
What about soccer? Didn't they win their conference?
Yeah.
Yes, they won. Okay, this is going to sound weird. They won Conference USA.
Yep.
There is not a men's SEC soccer division. There's a women's, but not a men's. I don't know why or how that all worked. Yeah, it's weird. So they did win Conference USA. Actually, yesterday at the Bell, they were on the pitch against Portland, the number 12 ranked team in the nation, and they beat them 4-0.
Yes, they move on to the third round now against Lipscomb.
Yep.
Coming up here, the NCAA tournament. So hopefully these guys can bring home a championship. That'd be nice.
And I want to say that game is scheduled for Saturday.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Like we don't have enough because the women play their last home game at 1, and then we've got the game in Louisville at 7.
Yep.
And the women volleyball team, SEC champs, back-to-back 2 years in a row. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just taking down titles left and right. I mean, it was nice to hear Coach Barnhart come out and speak before Stoops' press conference today and talk about all those different championships.
Right.
I can tell how excited Max is about the success of the program because he's checking his phone right now.
Man.
See, I don't even.
If it's not football, he doesn't care.
If it's not football or rifle, I really don't care.
Yeah, he checks out.
I think you guys need to start sending Max to some of these games to do reporting on. Like those 9 o'clock basketball games, I think would be perfect for him.
No! Let it be said. I
got tired of even saying that. I've got a button for it now.
Oh well. Oh my gosh, that reminds me of one of our earlier episodes. Remember when Max figured out how to use little bloopers on his phone?
He's using his phone, holding it up to the microphone,
holding it up to his phone.
Noise.
Yeah.
Works just the same.
That's ours for Max.
That one's for Max. Oh man. Yeah, we thought about that, and Max offered to go to games, but we also don't think we'd be allowed back at some of these games if Max went.
I have self-control.
No, you don't.
Name
What's
one
that
time.
supposed to?
Name one time.
Max, we've been friends for a long time now.
I think just because I haven't broken the glass in the studio should get me some sort of award.
Max,
why do you think you sit between us?
Max, we sit in the same row for football games for our season tickets, and you literally, something bad happens, and you literally yell down the row, Matt! And then you give me like the neck like cut off, or like pissed off, and everybody around us is just staring at you. Yeah, that reason alone.
Well, imagine what would happen if you sat next to me. I wouldn't have to do that. It's your own fault. It's your own fault. I would have to do it. It would turn from a, hey Matt, what was going on in that play? I mean, seriously.
No, it would not. No, it would not.
What, it would still be Matt.
Can you imagine him up on that little press row in Rupp Arena?
Nope.
And somebody saying something he doesn't like.
Yeah.
Or hearing something he doesn't like. Oh no!
God have mercy on their souls.
Oh,
Yes.
Who's that man yelling up at the top of the arena?
Why is he so aggressive?
I hate you all so much.
I'm Max Gabia. I won the All-State Good Works Award.
That's a write-off to not have to do anything else anymore.
He can be as mean as he
Matt
wants.
Smith's stunt double.
So I don't know if many of my listeners have listened to BBN Chalk Talk. I've been pushing you guys like crazy, but in case you didn't know, this is a normal situation where we just
this is the show.
Yeah. That's why we can't have a script, because this is what happens when we even try to have a script.
So the post-production show now, Dan, after show, is us telling Max everything he missed on the script that we went over 5 minutes before the show went on the air, in the list he had in front of him.
Sounds about right.
Max, you got a 6 out of 10 on this test.
Now,
How do I do this time, guys?
in y'all's contract with WVLK, do you have like a time limit that they've got for how much ranting he can do in an episode?
As long as I don't mention anything about politics, I'm fine.
But you're going
I can
on
reach
politics.
over and hit the mute button on him.
Yep. Thankfully.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well,
It helps.
we've talked about, how big of a season this has really been for Kentucky football. And then we've touched on some other sports too that have been doing good. But, a lot of these guys that are playing this year, we've talked about the success that they're having, and we've been enjoying them on Saturdays, but we're definitely probably going to see some of these guys here on Sundays coming up here soon. So from Allen to Snells, maybe some guys I'm not even mentioning right now. What do you guys think about, what do you think the expectations be for them, or what kind of success they're going to have on the next level when they do go to the NFL, like Allen or Snell or Bone or whoever.
Josh Allen and CJ Conrad will have the longest career out of all of them. Those two are built for the NFL.
Well, one was a running back. Of course they are, though. But, yeah.
Conrad and
Conrad's
Allen.
tight end.
Conrad's tight end. You're thinking Benny Snell.
Yes, sorry.
It's okay. We forgive you.
Thank you.
But both of those guys are built. I mean, they are built for NFL careers. And as long as they don't have any sort of injury that comes up, they're going to have a long-time career. And Dan, we'll give you this little nugget for you. That way, when you post it, you could say, Friends in the Corner podcast said it first. Benny Snell will not return in a UK jersey after this season. If he is smart, he will not come back, because running backs are completely different when it comes to draft status. It's not based on – and I heard a coach bring it up when it comes to running backs, when it comes to their draft status. And he said it's like picking out a used car. Any other position, you usually look at the year and the mileage, and you kind of gauge. He said running backs are more like trucks. When you're looking for a truck, a used truck, you can't go based off the year. You can't go even off the mileage. You have to look at the tow hitch. You have to look and see how much has that thing been towing, how much has that thing been moving, how much weight has it been pulling, because it brings a whole new element. Because running backs really don't have years. It's just kind of how many hits can a running back take. If Benny Snell's smart the way that he's been carrying the ball the past 2 years, well, you can even argue past 3 years, the smartest choice for him would probably be to go ahead and leave.
Yeah, I agree. Although he could use another year of development, he's not going to put his draft status any higher than it is this year with what he's done. Yes, I think CJ and Josh Allen is going to be like another coming of Bud Dupree, and just being that pass rushing type of defensive end / linebacker in the NFL. He will have a long career. I think Mike Edwards has a chance to have a long career coming out of the secondary. And then I think we've got an O-line full of guys that can play as long as they stay healthy, and are able to land with the right team. O-line's always tough because you don't carry a lot of them on your team in the NFL, and there's so many of them coming out of college. But they've definitely got the talent between Bunchy, between Stenberg, guys for the future as well that are younger. There's some good talent across the board in many different positions.
I agree. 100%. I think Benny is gone after this year. I, for one, think he does need to stay. But I get being the position that he's at. His shelf life is limited and his opportunity is limited. I think CJ is going to be another Jacob Tammy in the league. He's going to be somebody that's going to be around for a really, really long time and going to have a great career at that. Josh Allen is going to be solid. Mike Edwards is going to be solid. And then, like you said, I think Bunchy has some upside to him whenever he gets to the league, because he can play multiple positions. That's going to be the key thing for him, that he can go down, he can snap a ball if need be, he can play inside. I don't think he's built for a tackle spot in the NFL, but anywhere on the interior part of the line, I think he can play. I think George will get some looks.
Yeah.
Do you think Logan comes out this year? He's only a junior.
Yeah, I don't think he does.
There was talk about it, but I don't know. I don't think after I wouldn't if I were him.
Yeah.
I think another year of development would be good. Do him well and put him in a different class next year coming out. But
and the cool thing is, all the guys that came back for their senior year that passed up going last year have only helped themselves this year. There hasn't been any of these guys that have gone backwards or gotten hurt, thankfully, or have made a mistake by coming back. This was a good move in every single one of their parts and has only helped them for the future. So
let me ask you guys this. When we talk about Benny, and we all understand his shelf life, but then we've also spent the last 3 years of listening to Benny Snell talk about Benny Snell and Benny Snell's goals. If he doesn't break the record, I think he comes back. That's one he wants really, really bad. That's one he wants really, really bad.
I don't know.
I think he does break it between Louisville and the bowl game. I think he does break it unless he touches another referee inappropriately.
Actually, I've had some stuff to say about refs this year, I've noticed.
Have I?
Just a little.
But I don't know. I mean, that ego he's got, that third person talk that we hear all the time. I wonder if where that sits in his mind with his list of goals. If he doesn't check everything off he wants to check off, especially that big one at the end.
Money though changes things. You could say I could say the same thing. You know, someone hasn't
Barring an
sold
injury,
so many.
he's going to get paid one way or the other. Barring the only thing that's going to stop him from getting paid money is an injury.
But even more money, though. That's the thing. That's a lot. That's a lot. If you told me, it's like, you know, I really want this record of selling so many Doritos, but then someone says, you know what, we're going to give you $5.5 million and you don't have to do the whole Dorito thing anymore. That record doesn't mean that much to me anymore at that point. There's a lot I could do.
That's you. You don't talk in third person all the time, though.
Fine. For him, it's probably going to be close to 16, 18 million. That's a lot of money for a third person.
It was just a question. And you always got to bring up Chips. Do my best Jim Moore impersonation. Chips? Talking about Chips?
It's all I know and all that I'm good at.
I agree with you, Max, and obviously I was never a player, so I've never was in this situation where I can make a couple $1 million and not, unfortunately. But I feel like sometimes money does talk in situations like those, where if I have the opportunity to go make money and take care of my family, that may entice me more than making sure I have this record. I mean, Benny's already kind of made his mark as a Kentucky legend by this point as well. So I don't know what another record could do. I mean, it's a big record, but still, cool bucks in the bank helps out a lot, you out a lot. So yeah.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Just a question, and I just like to invoke thoughtful conversation.
This isn't your show, Greg. No questions.
No, I appreciate the contribution. Well, guys, also we gotta get into this. I mean, it is rivalry week or rivalry.
Rivalry week.
Rivalry week. Week of rivalries.
Right.
Did you make that up, Max, or was that? You said
It was Bo Jackson.
Oh God. Okay.
Rivalry week. What? Rivalry week.
If you just say it wrong on purpose, then people don't realize you can't actually say it, so then it helps.
Bo Jackson did so much for the stuttering community at that point.
True.
Those are Max's
I love
thoughts,
to hear
not
Charles
mine.
Barkley try to say it.
Oh gosh.
Well, and we've got our rivalry game coming up this week against Louisville here. And compared to the past, this is maybe a little more lopsided than it's been previously. I guess there's no way to say it. Not just talking about the football program itself, but the school in general. Has there been a school that's been having a worse calendar year than the University of Louisville?
No.
Across the board,
no. Maybe the exception, maybe Penn State or SMU back in the late 80s.
That was just football related, though. But even the basketball program, academic-wise.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's – and that's the part – and, again, the part that's so bittersweet about this is UK is probably going to go into this game. Of the 40,000 fans that are going to be there, probably 35,000 is going to be UK fans.
They better be.
Yeah.
UK will probably run the score up on Louisville if they get the opportunity, and I hope they do. But it's going to lose that edge about it because Jurich is no more, Ramsey is no more, and Bobby Petrino's no more. And it wasn't like he weaseled his way out. They just finally admit, you're not good at this anymore. Bye. And you kind of – and it's a great thing for the state. It's a great thing for college athletics. It's just bad for the rivalry, and it's tongue-in-cheek when I say that. Because Vince Tyra, the way that he's had to go in, get his hands dirty, and clean up this program, both basketball, football, and then just the stuff that was going on behind the scenes with Jurich. I mean, the disgusting stuff that he was doing behind and using intimidation, blinding media, all this stuff, just stuff that probably when he signed his contract to become the next AD of Louisville, he didn't sign up for that. And he's probably not getting paid enough for it. And I can really respect the way that he's wanting to run this program. You could see it by the way he brought in Chris Mack, and the way Chris Mack has kind of set a new age in Louisville basketball. And you're like, crap, I kind of like this guy. Like, I can't really hate on him. He just bought a dog, and the dog is adorable. And the fake dog follows me on Twitter now. It's like, this is just unreal. And now looking at the short list of guys that he's bringing in for football, Les Miles obviously out there, not going to get Jeff Brom, but you get Neil Brown. If Neil Brown actually commits and comes to Louisville, and the way that he ran his offense here at UK, the way he's run Troy and the way that he ran it, and they're going to give him time to build it to be a respectable program, it's a great thing for the school, what they're doing. Just for the rivalry, it's going to be hard to hate on Louisville because of the commitment they've made to really clean up the program.
It's not going to be hard to hate on them.
I mean, they're still birds with teeth.
I mean, it's not going to be hard to hate on them.
True.
It's not going to be hard for me to tweet out and comment constantly how much Blues in the stadium this weekend.
I will still do that.
I mean, Max, you've always said it. You get what you sow. You reap what you sow. And this is a path they put themselves on a long time ago. And when you look at it, I mean, look, I've been in Louisville now for some years, and I remember where the softball field is and that track, that was a gravel parking lot. That's what that was a student parking lot. There's an old convenience store there on the corner. And when George came in and he started everything that he did, and he made all these shiny things, all these new stadiums, all these new facilities, and nobody ever questioned because you could see it. It was nice and it was pretty. Mm-hmm. But now we're starting to see down the road what's happened with that and how he obtained that. And if we think he just started this with the Adidas thing, you're fooling yourself. This is stuff this is the way he did business. He didn't just start doing that all of a sudden when Adidas came knocking on the door with a check. So they get what they deserve. And there's been years that they've run it up on us. Last year, I think some of these guys got a bad taste in their mouths. I fully expect Stoops is a class act. Don't get me wrong. But he's still one of them blue collar from Ohio guys. And he gets an opportunity, whether a coach that is 2 weeks into the job or not, he's going to step on the throat and he ain't going to let up this Saturday.
Yep.
My favorite memory,
by the way,
my favorite memory at playing at UK was 2014 during that rivalry game against Louisville. And going in, you're playing for a bowl bid, and we go out there, and it's the first time ever I've ever been, because playing at Christian Academy, you weren't allowed to go out and stomp on someone's 50-yard line. But we went out there and stomped on that Cardinal, and the way that place absolutely erupted, just the amount of anger and hate and all this malice. I mean, throwing punches. I was even throwing punches. You had guys throwing flags before the game even started, and how out of hand it gotten. I mean, Petrino is putting someone in a chokehold and strangling one of the UK assistant coaches. And I remember we after they pulled the Louisville guys off, we met at the 50 on that Cardinal, started stomping on that Cardinal like no other. Granted, we still lost the game, but that was a game we came in and we just knocked their teeth in for a full first half. We stomped on that bird. We broke out into our warm-ups, and Coach Schlarman looks at us. He goes, "All right, you made a statement. You better back it up now." And that's what a rivalry is supposed to be. And I don't care about the civility during 11 games of the year, but that 12th game, there's got to be that hate. If you got hate in your heart, let it out. Let it out and express it and go after those birds with teeth. Rivalry week.
Gosh. All right. Well, I mean, that's just one game now. So we're hoping Kentucky is ready to go, get that win, finish off this season, hopefully pack that name redacted stadium with blue. But rivalry week, there's also a bunch of other big games out there as well. Is there any that you guys are looking forward to seeing besides UK U of L?
Does they no longer have the Texas A&M rivalry? No.
There's some lame Big Ten game going on that I'm not really paying attention to. No. No,
Big
Michigan,
Ten is
Ohio State.
trash.
I am pumped to watch that game. Although after the way that Ohio State lost to Maryland, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of hoping Ohio State loses that. Sorry, Dan.
No, I don't have very high expectations for the weekend.
But the Alabama-Auburn game, obviously the Iron Bowl, I'm always in for that one, regardless of where the team is. They always play a good game, and so I'm excited to just watch that one just because of the nature of it and
I
what's
need to look it up. Who's UCF got this week?
USF, Charlie Strong.
Ooh.
Come on, Charlie. It's our last hope.
So are you guys – well, I know Max's opinion here. Are you guys on the UCF bandwagon or where's
They're
where you
defending
going?
national champs, brother. You got to give them some respect.
Absolutely. Max just threw his hands up in anger.
No,
Natty.
I'll tell you what, I have not been on their bandwagon for the entire time because I think it's completely fake and everything about them is stupid. But I will say that they played Cincinnati really well, and I watched that whole game, and it was like they were making some plays against there. Now, granted, I don't know how good Cincinnati really is, but they were making some plays. They looked really good against them. It's one of those things where I kind of hope that they make it into the playoffs just so they have to face Alabama. But then again, I'm also at the point like, what if they actually were to pull up an upset, and what happens if that happens? And then we're all, at that point, nobody has anything to back on. So I'm just kind of hoping they keep them out of the playoffs, let them keep griping, and they'll lose eventually, and then we can stop talking about them. So,
Matt, all y'all are wrong. You don't reward someone for playing the weakest schedule in college football. You don't reward them for that. You just don't. And if you want to play better competition, submit to get into the Power Five. Where was all this hoop and hollering that they're the best when the ACC was expanding? When the SEC was expanding? Kept their mouth shut then. All of a sudden, doors are closed. Conferences aren't accepting people. Well, we're better than everyone else. You're better than everyone else? You play in the American Conference. You don't play anyone. Your signature then win is against another American Conference opponent in Cincinnati. And they haven't played anyone. And you hang your hat. You hang your hat on beating an SEC team in Auburn, who's trash this year. And not only are they trash, they were hungover when they played you guys. Because a bowl game is a glorified vacation for a team that doesn't want to be there. You all wanted to be there, but Auburn didn't. And that's why. Same thing with Louisville in the Sugar Bowl. Louisville wanted to be there, and Florida didn't want to. And that's why you won't get any respect, because you played a bunch of drunk Tigers, and your signature win that year was a 4-9 UConn team on the road. So you don't deserve anything. You don't deserve your trophy, and you could take that national championship thing off. Now, if you want to play a Bama, if you want to play a Clemson, if you want to play Notre Dame, by all means. But you'll be embarrassed.
I figured out how to use the mute button, by the way.
Yeah. You have to. He had that tone.
Max, tell us how you really feel.
it's crucial.
You have to.
Oh gosh.
You know what else gets you fired up?
If you're pro UCF, I don't respect.
Amen. He was preaching.
If you're pro UCF, I don't have respect for you when it comes to your knowledge of football at that point, because it's just unreasonable.
You seem to have a vast knowledge about UCF.
Well, no, it's not. No, because they keep bringing it up. We beat Auburn once. We beat them. We beat UConn on the road. We beat Cincinnati. Bro, shut up. All you guys, a fat kicker that pretends that he's golfing every single time he punts the ball. Like, that's all you got. You played a fat Lane Kiffin well. Like, bro, you ain't that good.
We'll get off this train. I opened up a can of worms I wasn't ready for.
Yeah, you did.
But guys, I mean, we've talked all about Kentucky football. If there's anything else we can say, this has been a fun season to watch.
Oh yeah,
it's been a great season to watch.
100%.
But obviously, listen, the time this comes out, it's going to be the day before Thanksgiving as well. So we got to talk. We've talked football this time. Well, we got to talk about your second favorite subject to talk about on your podcast here is food, right?
Oh,
I argue that that's number one.
yeah, I think
Number
it's tied for number one.
Okay. But, so let me ask you guys this. Before I want to talk about what you're hoping to get served at Thanksgiving, but let's talk about this with us being in Louisville playing this weekend. What are you hoping people bring to tailgate this weekend as far as food-wise goes, as far as what they're going to be catering?
Smoke.
Carbs.
Is that what
Smoke
Jeff
and
Gobby's
carbs,
serving up?
guaranteed 100% every tailgate.
Good Lord. Yeah, is that smoke from your dad's truck from last weekend?
It didn't smoke. It was steam because a water pump blew up.
Yeah.
What's the difference between smoke and steam?
Smoke looks bad. Steam looks somewhat relaxing unless antifreeze is coming out of it. Then it's not very relaxing at that point.
Yeah.
Highly stressful situation.
Dan, to answer your question, I would say I'm about ready because I feel like we haven't had a good weekend for it because of the early game with MTSU and then being on the road. I just need a good chilly weekend. We haven't talked about it, and we're there. I mean, we went straight to the cold weather. We skipped fall, and it's winter's right around the corner. But I want to see some good chili. I think you're going to get a lot of Thanksgiving leftover kind of food because that's what's going to be served 2 days before. But I mean, that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'll be curious to see because Greg and I are both in the media booth up there. I'll be curious to see what kind of food they cater for us.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I've never been to U of L up there and see what they have to offer. I'm with you, Smitty. Some chili. I got a little taste of that down in Tennessee a couple of weekends ago when they had that hot dog chili bar set up. I had a little bit of chili out then too. It's going to be weird, and we're in Louisville, and we know what that stadium's like at a noon kick whenever the Yahoos have had a couple hours to get liquored up. And now when we've given them till 7 p.m. to do that all day, it's going to be interesting to see. But I would love to see some barbecue, some chili. Yeah, chili would be good.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound offensive on this, but do Louisville fans know how to tailgate?
I mean,
we're going to be tailgating.
You know how to drinking.
Yeah, it's not really.
Well, I'm talking about like actually.
Tailgate. It's a drinking tailgate.
I'm just like I've never seen a grill at Cardinal Stadium.
You know what? Now that you say that, I'm trying to think back at games that I've been to. I don't ever really remember seeing smokers and grills and
no.
It's all picked up food off the back of a tailgate, like B-dubs and
rallies.
So it's going to be like Churchill Downs, like when you're going out there to watch a race, everyone's just drinking the parking lot, then they go in.
No, since I do live in Louisville, there is, and I've always said this, and I don't know if it's because I see it from a different point of view, not really have grown up here through my younger years. But there is a big difference between Lexington and Louisville. And the type you look at it with Churchill Downs and Keeneland. The experience at Churchill Downs versus the experience at Keeneland is completely different. And I think the tailgating is the same way. The football experience, the basketball experiences are both completely different. They're opposites.
Well, let me ask you guys this, because you guys have been still going out to the tailgates, I hope, this season here. Has there been any tailgates that have really is there any tailgates that you guys have really enjoyed this season? Anyone that's been really taking their A game, each home game this season to you guys? I
don't really get to go as much to the tailgate because I'm usually trying to get in and get set up in the press box and stuff like that. I have been with Matt there on a few occasions down to Tony's place. Tony always has a nice spread. I do hate that he couldn't deliver Bloody Mary bar to me up in the press box last week. He always seems to have a good spread. And then game one, the Godbys had a little tailgate action going. Had some sandwiches out there and some those cookies were amazing.
Weren't they though? Homemade pie kitchen.
Where was my invite, Max?
You didn't go to the game.
I was still available to come to the tailgate.
I have a rule.
Okay.
He doesn't have a rule. He has rules. And one of them, section 3.2.a, is
Go ahead, read it. You know it.
Thou shalt not come to a tailgate if you're not going to the game.
Amen.
I'll let Catherine know that you deprived her of a great tailgate.
Okay. I won't do another Low Country Boil again.
Oh, that's sad.
Matt, you all right there? You twitched.
Well, all right. Matt, was there a tailgate that stood out to you?
I don't know if you can hear me right now because my stuff is going kind of crazy over here.
Stop.
Do I sound weird?
Yes, stop.
Just a little bit.
You're
Remember the 1980s Max Headroom? The very first guy on a computer video? That's what you were like.
Yeah.
But I know what Matt was going to say. Matt was going to say he goes to Tony Fink, who was one of our very first winners of Tailgater of the Week, and always has a phenomenal spread out. Remember the hash browns that one year that they had?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't he have meatloaf? The one year he had meatloaf? That was amazing too. So that's usually where Matt goes and hangs out, and he tailgates with. And he always usually texts me too, hey, you coming by? And usually it's to the point where I'm settled in upstairs, and the fat boy kicks in and is like, do I want to go down the elevator, around the gates? I was very, very tempted this week when I heard about the Bloody Mary bar, though.
All right, guys. Well, I want to say.
Oh, we're doing this one again. We have multiple Matt Smiths.
Hee haw hoo hey.
Well, before you guys came on, me and Matt were having some issues trying to get his audio to work. We were quite concerned for a minute, but anywho, the last thing I want to talk to you guys about, obviously we got Thanksgiving happening tomorrow. Is there any particular dish you guys are hoping for Thanksgiving, or is there what are you expecting at your Thanksgiving spread this year?
Man, is it weird looking at yourself?
We got on our little video picture, we got a frozen mat, and then we've got a Thanksgiving mat in the bottom corner.
I just love the look of Frozen Matt and his disgust at looking at Matt.
So you gave up on me.
Oh, at least it wasn't like before. Remember when we had that big long, he had the phone turned sideways and his head looked huge. Not like it's Lyman that we don't have big heads as it was, but your head looked like this huge potato, dude.
My head is huge.
Oh,
Dan, to answer your question, I love Thanksgiving with mine and Ashley's family because I basically get 4 Thanksgivings when you get down to it. Because I've got my wife's family's Thanksgiving. Then when we come back Thanksgiving morning, Thanksgiving night, my parents take Ashley and me out for Mexican food that night, which is basically the same quantity of food with more beer. And then the next Friday, more of her family comes to my family's house for another Thanksgiving. And then you're allowed to put all the leftovers in the fridge for about a couple hours. Then once you get that good belch, you go right back, and that's what you're having for dinner that night also. And then probably our at-home tailgate's going to be a lot of KFC-inspired bowls of just throwing everything together in a bowl and just mixing it up. Thanksgiving is the best time of year, my friend. And that's when I'm living life to the fullest.
Can you all hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
So my favorite part is what Max just said. Like, I love Thanksgiving meal as it stands, and I love the football that goes with it and just the whole day in general. But my favorite is just what you can do with the leftovers the next day, the next week. You just have so many options, and it never has to be the same. And you can put gravy on everything. If you have a whole meal where you can put gravy on anything and it tastes great, that's a win for me all day.
yeah, just the leftover that you're going to have, and then knowing that this year I went and picked it up today. I've got a 15-pound brisket sitting up in my fridge that I'm going to smoke up and take over to my sister-in-law's house. She's doing 2 smoked turkey breasts that she's bought, and I'm going to do a smoked brisket.
Man, can I come over?
Sure.
Yeah.
Come on, Smitty.
All right.
That's
and my
awesome.
favorite thing at El Nopal is I just walk in, I do this. He knows what I want.
It's ready.
That's awesome.
That's all I got to do.
May I say one thing? Let me say this really quickly because this is how awesome my wife is. Because one, my voice carries so much in this house that she can hear basically everything in the podcast, and she comes charging in here and gives me a Post-it note and helps me remember. This is what she did last year for our tailgate.
Thanksgiving croissant rolls.
Well, she take basically it's the bowl, but it turns into a walking taco, but walking crescent rolls. And she fills it with mashed potatoes. Thank you. Mashed potatoes, corn, green beans, turkey, and cranberries, and puts it all into these crescent rolls.
How big are your croissants, dude, that you can fit all that in there?
Dude, like I'm not joking. I mean, they're about as big as that.
That's a potato for the listeners.
I'm just talking about lengthwise. That's
Max.
about it.
Good radio. Good at this right here. What you're looking at.
I don't care what the other people think. You're the one that asked me the question.
Max, this is my show, not yours. Just so you're.
I'm taking over now. My wife made a good point, and dang it, everyone pay attention to it.
I will mute you again.
Mute button. Mute button.
Well, guys, I want to say this has been so much fun talking to you guys. It's been really fun getting to catch up with you guys and talk a little UK sports and stuff like that. I finally have a microphone. I just realized I didn't have a microphone the last time we were recording together. But
we were on a low budget. You did that time we had that one big one sitting in the middle of the table.
Yeah, that's right.
Propped up on towels and
on Max's kitchen counter. But the last bit here is just for you guys. So if there's anything you guys want to pitch, your social medias, your shows, this time is for you.
Do we even let Max have a crack at this, or Greg, do you want to do it?
Let's start with Greg.
You just go. You just go.
Over.
I forfeit my time to Lyle.
Well, what happened, Smitty?
I fell down. Sorry.
What happened to Max?
That fell. Yeah. So that just reminded me of the time we were on our show. We had a script for Max to read. Then he goes, so yeah, we have sponsorship advertising. Greg?
Greg, you want to go?
What? No, but yes, we've been blessed to be sponsored by G&J Pepsi Cola bottlers. We have our new show every Sunday on 590 WVLK 93.7 or 97.3, where Lexington comes to talk. An hour every week for us to get on and do what we started many moons ago in Max's dining room on those awful metal waffle chairs that I think I still have scar marks from. But anyway, so we have that. If you want to catch us at any time, we're on iTunes, we're on Blog Talk Radio. There are two main sources to find our podcast. We do take our Sunday show and make it into a podcast as well that's usually produced out on Monday mornings. We have a second hour, which is what we call the OT, that we usually put out on Tuesdays. And then we have our walkthrough where we look at the game of the week and kind of do a walkthrough and keys the game and everything off that we usually have up on Thursdays. So we do 3 podcasts a week now, and you can find us on social media, anywhere on social media, just by searching BBN Chalk Talk. We made it one of the stupidest things we ever did that we never knew that we were doing is that we branded everything the same. It was actually like the smartest thing we ever did.
Yeah.
We had no clue what we were doing, but we did it that way. And so on any Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, look for BBN Chalk Talk. And you will find us. Go to iTunes, go to Blog Talk Radio, our two main platforms. But just really go out and search BB and Chalk Talk. That's the name of our website, too. And if there's anybody that's listening that does have interest in coming on board and partnering and becoming a part of the BB and Chalk Talk family, they can reach us at info, at bbnchalktalk.com. And we would get them some information on the different opportunities that we have available.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you guys so much for coming on. And if there's anything else I can say, we were talking about how we started kind of in that apartment a few years ago. I'm very proud of all you guys for where you guys have come from then to now. And I'm excited to continue to see you guys grow. Don't forget about your former producer. Give us a shout out every once in a while. But we're looking forward to seeing where you guys go. And we hope to have you guys back on the show again.
I just hope we never figure out what we're doing.
Yep, we appreciate you, Dan. Thanks for having us on, and we'll be on anytime you want us to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Thanks for never telling me how hard all this crap was the whenever we started. Hey, go ahead.
I was holding it in internally.
Go ahead.
All right.
You can do it off your PC. It's Dan does it. Do it. $3,000 worth of computer equipment later, and I'm sitting here banging my head.
Yep.
Better you than Max.
Oh yeah.
Very true.
He would never spend $100 in technology.
No. I found this great podcasting stuff. The catch, it's all in Chinese.
But I got it for $20.
Thank y'all. All right, well, that's it for our episode. We're here with BBN Chalk Talk. Thank you so much for Matt, Greg, and Max for coming on to my show. Guys, you should go check them out at bbnchalktalk.com. Follow them on Twitter at BBN Chalk Talk, and you should also listen to their shows on iTunes and Blog Talk Radio as well. Also, you can listen to them on Sundays at 12 noon on 590 WVLK here in the Lexington area as well. Also, don't forget to follow my show. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at FITC Podcast. That's FITC Podcast. Email the show at friendsinthecorner@gmail.com. That's friendsinthecorner, all together lowercase, at gmail.com. Check us out on iTunes and Stitcher. And if you like what you hear, please leave us a review. The more reviews we get, the better content we can put out there. Guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Friends in the Corner podcast. Happy Thanksgiving to all you guys, and we'll see you next week with the last episode of November. That's a wrap.